Nobody anticipated the shocking revelation that would upend one of the most successful careers in WNBA history and rock women's basketball to its foundation. The basketball world knew something extraordinary was going to happen as Adam Silver entered the podium with a somber countenance that said volumes before he ever spoke. The subsequent statements would ruin a tradition, heartbreak supporters, and set a precedent that would permanently alter professional women's basketball. The ultimate punishment that no athlete ever wants to hear is suddenly facing Brittney Griner, the 69 superstar who had defined domination in the paint for more than 10 years. However, why would the NBA commissioner intervene so forcefully in the women's league? What proof was so strong that it called for the harshest penalty in professional basketball? This choice has ramifications that go well beyond a single player's career. It will have an impact on the rules governing elite athletic competition and the future of women's professional sports. Although Adam Silver is the NBA's commissioner, it's crucial to understand that he has no direct control over WNBA disciplinary procedures. Since 2019, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has been in charge of league operations and disciplinary issues for the WNBA, which has her own executive structure. Although the NBA and WNBA continue to have commercial ties and joint ownership structures, WNBA officials, not NBA leadership, make disciplinary decisions for the women's league. The WNBA's disciplinary structure outlines precise steps for looking into player conduct infractions and deciding on suitable sanctions. The league's collective bargaining agreement describes these procedures, which includes several review stages, player representation, and appeals mechanisms intended to guarantee equitable treatment. As of 2025, Brittney Griner is still one of the most well-known and productive athletes in the league, playing for the Phoenix Mercury. Throughout her career, she has won championships, been selected to several all-star teams, and established herself as one of the most dominant centers in women's basketball history. The WNBA's severe disciplinary action procedure calls for a thorough evaluation of the facts, a lot of paperwork, and usually legal advice to make sure that any sanctions are in line with employment legislation and league rules. There are concerns about what conditions may, in theory, result in such harsh disciplinary action and how the league's governance system would respond to such extraordinary circumstances. According to legal experts, lifelong bans from professional sports leagues are exceedingly uncommon and are usually only applied to infractions involving match fixing, gambling, or other practices that jeopardize the basic integrity of competitive sports. The ramifications might imply that strong proof of grave wrongdoing would be necessary for any such disciplinary action. Since being selected first overall by the Phoenix Mercury in 2013, Brittney Griner has become one of the most successful players in WNBA history. Her career accomplishments include winning the 2014 WNBA championship, being selected to 8 All-Star teams, and winning MVP of the finals for her outstanding play during that championship run. Griner, a 6'9" player with remarkable skill and athleticism, has shot an amazing 57.8% from the field and averaged 17.7 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game over her career. She has consistently excelled during more than 10 years of professional competition, ranking among the most effective and prolific players in league history. Her influence goes beyond individual numbers. She also helped raise awareness of women's basketball by using her distinct playing style and demeanor. Throughout her career, Griner used her platform to support social justice and LGBTQ+ rights, becoming the first openly homosexual athlete to accept an endorsement contract with Nike. Griner's recent public persona has been largely shaped by her international experience, which includes playing basketball for the United States in the Olympics, where she won gold in 2016 and 2021 and established herself as one of the best players in the world, regardless of gender or league affiliation. The United States and Russia engaged in high-level diplomatic negotiations as a result of her incarceration in Russia from February to December 2022 on drug-related accusations. She became a symbol of American tenacity and brought attention to the intricate connections between foreign affairs, politics, and athletics as a result of the prisoner exchange that ultimately led to her freedom. The WNBA is governed by extensive conduct guidelines intended to uphold professional standards and safeguard the league's reputation. These rules cover a wide range of wrongdoing, including as harassment, discrimination, drug misuse, and actions that can harm the league's standing or foster unfriendly situations for employees and players. The WNBA's disciplinary procedures involve several steps of evaluation, starting with initial reporting and investigation, then gathering and analyzing evidence, and finally ending with conclusions taken by league executives after consulting with player representation and legal counsel. Players who are subject to disciplinary action have certain rights and safeguards outlined in the league's collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association. These include counsel during investigations, appeals procedures, and the standards of proof needed for different severity of penalty. Prior WNBA disciplinary measures have included required counseling or education programs for players who disobey league rules, suspensions for egregious fouls or unacceptable behavior, and penalties for technical fouls and unsportsmanlike conduct. It is unclear under what conditions league management may think about imposing the worst sanctions permitted by WNBA governance structures, and what proof would be needed to support such an unusual disciplinary measure in women's professional basketball. The NBA and WNBA's partnership produces special governance dynamics that influence how both organizations handle disciplinary issues. The organizations share some ownership groups, corporate alliances, and administrative resources that result in interrelated interests, even if they maintain distinct leadership structures and operating procedures. Throughout his tenure, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has encouraged the WNBA's expansion and growth by pushing for more funding for women's basketball and trying to open doors for greater media attention and financial success. However, considering the WNBA's autonomous governance system, his direct involvement in disciplinary actions would be uncommon. Shared marketing campaigns, cross-promotional opportunities, and cooperative attempts to expand basketball at all levels are all part of the league's corporate partnerships. Both organizations have an interest in upholding professional standards and favorable public perceptions as a result of these collaborations. There are questions regarding the potential impact of major wrongdoing in one league on commercial ties and the public's opinion of the larger basketball community, as well as whether such circumstances could necessitate coordination among league leadership in order to handle reputational issues. Legal experts point out that professional sports league governance structures usually uphold distinct lines of authority with regard to disciplinary action, with each league managing internal affairs in accordance with its own rules and procedures, as opposed to external supervision from affiliated organizations. Addressing player conduct that goes beyond physical competition, such as personal conduct, social media activity, and off-court behaviors that could reflect on the league's reputation and principles, presents special difficulties for professional sports leagues. The WNBA's stance on player conduct demonstrates the league's dedication to upholding polite, inclusive workplaces while retaining the competitive spirit that characterizes elite professional basketball. A careful evaluation of each situation's unique circumstances, as well as their wider ramifications for league culture, is necessary to strike this balance. These days, social media activity, public remarks, and off-court conduct are all closely monitored by fans, the media, and league authorities, making it harder for professional players to distinguish between their personal and professional lives. The rules governing player behavior must take into consideration changing societal mores, regulatory obligations, and the particular demands placed on professional players who act as public personalities and role models for supporters from a variety of backgrounds. The ramifications might imply that league authorities should continuously assess how the acts of individual players impact the larger basketball community and what criteria are required to uphold the professional atmosphere that fosters fan involvement and competitive excellence. Since selecting Brittney Griner in 2013, the Phoenix Mercury have centered their competitive approach on her commanding interior presence. She led the team to their most recent WNBA title and was the mainstay of their postseason run for the most of her career, among other contributions to the squad. Beyond her on-court accomplishments, Griner plays a leadership role in the Mercury organization by mentoring younger players and lending experience to team decision-making. Her background and understanding of basketball have been extremely helpful for team culture and franchise growth. Griner's involvement with the Mercury is commercial in nature, as seen by marketing alliances, fan interaction programs, and her contribution to the team's attempts to create steady attendance and income streams in the cutthroat Phoenix sports market. Guerrier's personality and leadership style have greatly influenced team chemistry and organizational culture, resulting in dynamics that would require significant adjustments in the event that there were any kind of drastic roster changes. Sports analysts point out that professional sports franchise planning needs to take into consideration a number of unforeseen factors, such as possible player absences owing to retirement, injury, or other situations that could impact roster composition and competitive strategy. The harshest sanction that league officials can impose is a lifetime ban from professional sports, which is usually saved for infractions that include major criminal activity or endanger the core integrity of competitive sports. In professional sports, instances of point shaving, match rigging, gambling on games, and other practices that jeopardize competitive integrity have all resulted in lifelong bans. These incidents highlight how seriously sports leagues take challenges to fair competition. Significant proof of grave wrongdoing, due process protections for the accused, and an evaluation of the proportionality between the claimed infractions and the penalties imposed are usually prerequisites for the legal conditions for imposing lifetime bans. Professional sports leagues have to strike a balance between upholding individual rights and legal protections that regulate employment relationships and disciplinary actions, and using their power to preserve competitive integrity. There are concerns regarding the types of wrongdoing that, in theory, may warrant such harsh sanctions in women's professional basketball, as well as whether the WNBA's disciplinary guidelines have clauses for handling exceptional circumstances that go beyond routine infractions. Players, coaches, supporters, and other stakeholders who have contributed to the sport's expansion and advancement over the years make up the larger women's basketball community. Significant disciplinary measures taken against well-known players may have a broad impact on public opinion and community morale. The public perception and professional behavior of WNBA players are especially important for larger cultural and political discussions since they frequently act as role models and champions for social justice, LGBTQ+ rights, and women's sports. Women's basketball's growing popularity and financial success raise the stakes for upholding favorable public perception and professional standards that encourage the sport's future development and investment.